Hey everybody, Chris here again. Welcome back to Cooking with Chris. Today, we're going to make a really mean souffle. The first step in making... What? Wrong show? Okay. Well, there's no way I'm wearing this on the show, okay? This is out. Okay, so this isn't really a cooking show, as you know. I'm RetroTech Chris, and we're glad to have you with us today. And what we're going to do is have a look at the Compaq LTE 5000 series, principally focused on what's the difference between some of these machines. They look alike in many aspects, but there are some subtle differences, and today I want to talk about those, so let's get right to it. So first of all, what you're looking at here is my LTE bingo card. And you can see I have most of the models, and those are going to be the models that we cover today. Additionally, since I don't have every single machine, I do encourage you to have a look at this Wikipedia page, especially this section here, which shows you the different models and the different configurations they came in. But really, as they say, a picture, or in this case, a video, is like 1,000 words. So we're going to have a look in person at the machines I have. Looking at the exterior of the machines, there is one subtle difference between the earlier models and the later models. The earlier models have this circular display indicator for the battery and power, whereas the later machines in the series have this slotted line for the battery and power indicators. And that's the only real external difference that I've noticed between the different machines in the series. So first, let's have a look at the LCD panels and some of the differences that exist between them. We'll start here with my LTE 5000 passive matrix system. And you can see it's passive matrix since it has both a contrast and brightness slider. And this particular screen is 10.4 inches with a resolution of 640 by 480 pixels. Next, we have my LTE 5000 with an active matrix screen, and its resolution is 640 by 480 with a 10.4 inch screen. Next is my LTE 5100, and it has an active matrix screen that's 800 by 600, measuring 10.4 inches. Next, we have my LTE 5250, and it also has an 800 by 600 active matrix screen that's 10.4 inches. Next, we have my LTE 5280, and it actually doesn't have the right screen on it because I don't have one for it. So it has an LTE 5400 screen. If it had the right screen, it would be 800 by 600 active matrix measuring 11.3 inches. Next is the LTE 5300 with an 800 by 600 active matrix screen measuring 12.1 inches. And next we have the king of LTEs, the 5400, or is it? So the LTE 5400 has an active matrix 800 by 600 display measuring 12.1 inches. However, then we have the LTE 5380 with a 1024 by 768 screen measuring 12.1 inches. And for this is my favorite LTE 5000 series laptop. Looking at two units with different display sizes, you can see that the unit with the smaller screen has a much bigger speaker in it, whereas the unit with the bigger screen has a much smaller speaker in it. And something else to notice, that when you don't have the display set at its native resolution, these older displays actually don't scale, at least not without some software trickery. So this 800 by 600 screen you see on the right has a border around the outside, whereas this 640 by 480 screen does not. And for that reason, the LTE 5000 that you see on the left is one of the most notable and desirable DOS gaming machines due to its native panel resolution. So next, let's have a look at processors and cache memory. Starting with the LTE 5000, it has a 75 megahertz Pentium processor with 256 kilobytes of cache. Next, we have the LTE 5100 with a 90 megahertz Pentium processor and 256 kilobytes of cache. Next, we have the LTE 5250 with a 120 megahertz Pentium processor and 256 kilobytes of cache. Next, we have the famous Mclaren 5280 with a 120 megahertz Pentium processor and 256 kilobytes of cache. Next we have an LTE 5300 with a 133 megahertz processor and 256 kilobytes of cache. Next, for the LTE 5400, we have a 150 megahertz Pentium processor, the king of the kings, with an external cache of 512 kilobytes, which is also the king of the kings. And finally, we have the LTE 5380 with its 133 megahertz processor and 256 kilobytes of cache. When it comes to memory, all of my machines have a 64 megabyte memory upgrade module. However, not all of my machines have the same amount of memory. Why? Well, the earlier series processors, like the 75 megahertz, 100 megahertz, 90 megahertz, and I believe the 120 megahertz first edition, only had 8 megabytes of memory built onto the processor card. However, the later 120 megahertz processors, as well as the 133 and 150 megahertz processors, had 16 megabytes of memory built onto the processor card. Now, what you're seeing here is actually a bit of a sleeper. This is an LTE 5000 with its 640 by 480 screen with 80 megabytes of memory. Yet, the 5000 came with a 75 megahertz processor. What I've done is actually upgrade it to a newer 120 megahertz processor to make it a LTE 5000 sleeper. So it truly is the perfect DOS gaming machine with its 640 by 480 display, 80 megabytes of memory, and 120 megahertz Pentium processor. Looking at the keyboards, there's actually one subtle difference, and I don't think this is tied to model number. On this particular machine, we can see it has a soft keyboard pointer that is smooth to the touch. However, this keyboard has a rough pointer that is rough to the touch. That said, swapping them out is as easy as giving it a tug and replacing it with a different pointer. Having a look at similarities, all machines do have this removable bay on the left where you can put a secondary battery, a floppy drive, or a CD-ROM drive. And here you can see I've swapped that floppy drive for a CD-ROM drive. Or you can take a battery and slide this slider out and put it in. All machines do have a removable hard drive caddy, and depending upon the model number, either came with a 510 megabyte, 810 megabyte, 1.3 gigabyte, or 2.1 gigabyte drive. And all machines did come with a nice power adapter like you see here. Look at that nice Compaq logo. Alright, well that's pretty much what I cooked up for you today as far as the LTE 5000 series are concerned and their differences. Definitely subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell and you'll be notified when new content is available. If you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If not, consider sending me a strong message by pressing that thumbs down button twice. Thanks again for watching. I can't wait to see you till next time. I think now I need to go and do the other show, so we'll get right on that. I'm not wearing this apron though. Bye now.